I'm Georgette Greenlee, the Secretary of the Board of Commissioners of the Chicago Transit Authority. The Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Deliveries, scheduled for 9:30 this morning, will be followed by the Committee on Finance. I'm Georgette Greenlee, the Secretary of the Board of Commissioners of the Chicago Transit Authority. 10 o'clock a.m. The Committee on Strategic, on February 28th, 2023, the Office of the Secretary issued a notice of changed format of meetings of committees on strategic planning and service delivery and finance, audit, and budget, as well as the Transit Board meeting scheduled for today, March 8th, 2023. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there is currently in place a statewide disaster proclamation that has been renewed from month to month. Pursuant to Section 7E of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, virtual public meetings are permitted while the disaster proclamation remains in effect. Since the governor's disaster proclamation remains in effect in the state of Illinois, the meeting of March 8th, 2023 are being held electronically or virtually for members of the public. At this point, we are ready to start the meeting of the Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Delivery. Chairman Miller.
Order the March 8th, 2023 meeting of the Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Delivery. Georgette, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Director Lee.
Present.
Director Ja.
Present.
Chairman Miller.
Here.
Chairman Miller, you have a quorum present with 3 members. Also present today are Chairman Barclay and Director Jakes.
Thank you. Our first order of business is the approval of the February 8th, 2023 committed minutes. May I have a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
Motion has been moved by Director Ja, seconded by Director Lee. Director Ja.
Our next.
Director Ja.
Yes.
Director Lee.
Yes.
Chairman Miller.
Yes.
Motion is approved with 3 yay votes.
Thank you. Our next order of business is a review of an ordinance authorizing the discontinued bus route number X98 Avon Express. Mike?
Good morning. I'm Mike Connolly, your Chief Planning Officer.
Morning.
Staff are recommending approval of an ordinance which would authorize the discontinuance of the bus route number 98 Avon Express. Civic staffing gave notice early this year that due to reduced workforce and resulting low ridership, they would end their subsidy of this route and requested that CTA should consider discontinuing the route. CTA has been operating this route with a subsidy from Civic staffing since 2002. It is designed to meet the end of shift time in the late evening hours on weekdays, providing a connection from the manufacturing plant in Morton Grove to the Jefferson Park Transit Center. A public hearing was held on this discontinuance on February 22nd of this year to allow for community comment, and there were no attendees. One comment was submitted electronically requesting that the route be continued. This comment has been shared with the board in your packet. Thank you. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I have no questions.
Do any of the directors have any questions about this ordinance?
No questions. No questions.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion regarding this ordinance?
Well,
Director
we'll put on
Ja?
the omnibus. May I have a
So
Mike,
moved.
we have,
At this point, I think it would be appropriate for a motion to place the item on the omnibus for board approval.
right? Yes. Yeah. May I have a leave to place the item on the omnibus for board approval?
So move. Second.
May, we also have to approve the minutes from the February 8th meeting. May we have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting from the Committee for Strategic Planning Services and Delivery from the meeting of February 8th, 2023.
So move. Second?
Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Chairman Miller,
Yes.
since there is no further business to be conducted,
That's my,
may
may I have motion?
Chairman Miller, we need to
You ready?
address the issue of putting the ordinance on the omnibus.
Yes, may I have motion to approve the omnibus and recommend for board approval?
So move. Second?
Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Miller, Chairman Miller.
Yes. Yes.
Since there's no further business to be conducted, may we have a motion to adjourn?
So move. Second?
Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Chairman Miller.
Yes.
The meeting of the Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Delivery is now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Jakes.
Thank you. Good morning. I would like to call to order the March 8th, 2023 meeting of the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget. Jet, would you please call the roll?
Director Ja,
Here.
Director Lee,
Here.
Director Miller, Director Miller,
Here. Sorry. Here.
Chairman Barclay,
Here.
Can you hear me? Here.
and Director Jakes.
Here.
Director Jakes, you have a quorum with 4 members in attendance. You can proceed to item number 2.
Our first order of business is the approval of the committee minutes of February 8th, 2023. May I have a motion to approve?
So move. Second?
Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chairman Barclay,
Yes.
Yes.
Director Jakes.
Yes.
The motion passes. Director Jakes, you may proceed to item number 3.
Our next order of business is the finance report. Jeremy Fine.
Good morning. I'm Jeremy Fine, your Chief Financial Officer, and today I'll walk through results for January. We see here on the first page, January revenues. January revenues for fare box and pass totals are coming in better than expected via the budget by about $3.7 million. Reduced fare subsidy comes in as expected, and non-fare box totals are coming in about $500,000 better than expected in the budget. Therefore, for January, we see total revenues coming in $4.2 million better than the budget and about $7.9 million better than 2022 January results. On the next page, you see January expenses. We see labor coming in about $8 million better than budgeted. Material coming in about $500,000 lower, or worse, unfavorable to budget. And this is not uncommon in the winter months. Fuel coming in better by about $1 million. Power coming in essentially flat. Injuries and damages and security services coming in either flat to budget or slightly positive. And other expenses coming in about $2 million to the negative. But again, this is not uncommon as we go from one year into the next with regard to timing of invoices and whatnot. we see a negative variance here of about $2 million. So overall, for the month of January, we see positive favorability to the tune of about $6.6 million for our expenses. When we couple that with our revenues, we see a net number of $10.8 million for the month of January. With regard to our public funding, we show this three different ways in the next couple of pages. The first page is an aggregate page showing both 22 results and 23 results. For sales tax, we see results here for November of 2022, where we still are comparing against the amended budget and the original budgets for that year. We see $3.1 million of positive favorability against the amended budget, 7.5 against the original budget. PTF is in red, and PTF on red are compared against the 23 budget only. And we see positive favorability on PTF of $1.4 million, a negative $4.5 million for RET, which is indicative of the higher interest rates and the slowdown in general with regard to real estate sales. And PTF on RET coming in about $900,000 better. And ICE funding coming in against the 22 budget, flat to the amended budget and slightly positive to the original budget. So overall, for the month, we see about $3.1 million of favorability to the respective amended budgets and about $5.4 million to the respective original budgets. On the next couple of pages, we break this out by year so we can see more clearly with regard to 2022 results. On the next page, we see sales tax. I'm sorry, I think we may have skipped a page there. So yes, thank you. On sales tax through November, we see the results coming in $27.1 million better than expected. The results through December have been accrued, which means that for the month, we see about $50 million of positive favorability vis-a-vis the amended budget. With the collections now for sales tax through November, we see positive favorability against the original budget of almost $125 million. On the next page, you see results for 2023. Again, because we have not received collections for sales tax for January, because we're still closing out 2022, we only see results for PTF, RET, and PTF on RET. In an aggregate, they're essentially flat, but slightly negative to budget by about $200,000. Again, without seeing any of the results yet for sales tax for 2023. On the next page, you see the federal relief funding draws. We see about $21 million of total draws against federal relief funds for the month. This means that we've drawn down to date about 43% of the total allocation, which means that we have about $1.25 billion remaining. And again, as we continue to close out 2022, we'll continue to keep the board apprised as to how things shake out for 22 in total. But again, we expect to see some positive variance even vis-a-vis our budgeted numbers for how we were going to end 2022. With regard to the three commodities that we purchase, fuel, power, and natural gas, we see again that we've been able to lock in a good portion of the expected volume for 23, 4, and 5. We will continue to look for selective opportunities to buy the outer years for fuel, power, and natural gas. And again, this strategy has worked out very well for us in being able to lock in at very attractive pricing. That concludes my report for January, and I'm glad to answer any questions.
Jeremy, one, it was great seeing the report where there were green arrows going up and not red arrows going down. So that was a joy to see. But what do you attribute in January to the increase?
So I think that, again, we continue to see, good results on public funding. There's still some tailwinds. However, we continue to keep a close eye on, the larger economy. We also see, again, some, increased ridership, continuing to bolster our fare and pass totals, which is again, a very good sign. And then again, with regard to our expenses, I think that over the last couple of years, again, just working with all of the departments, making sure that we're tightening our belts as best we can and continuing to work, aggressively on that front has allowed us to continue to see positive variance there as well. So, again, I think that the ridership trends, as well as the larger economy trends at least for the near term until there's, a potential recession, continue to be favorable for us.
So I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Ridership is increasing, not decreasing or not flat.
That's correct.
Good,
Ridership is increasing.
good.
Another point that I would make that has also helped us, particularly in the winter months, is that we've had a relatively mild winter. And a lot of the expenses that we might normally incur around snow removal and overtime because of severe weather have not really impacted us the way they might in a typical winter. That also have also helped us a little bit with our ridership. So I think the mild winter has been our friend this year for certainly.
It's a great report. Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, President. I have no more questions, Georgette.
Are there any other questions or comments?
No questions. No questions.
No question. Thank you. Good report.
Director Jakes, you may proceed to the contracts, which is agenda item number 4.
Great, thank you. Our next order of business is the review of transit operations contract A1 and A2.
Director Ja, any questions?
No questions.
Director Lee, any questions?
None. Thank you.
Director Miller?
No questions.
Chairman Barclay?
No question.
Director Jakes?
No questions. Our next order of business is the review of infrastructure contracts B1 through B11. I have no questions.
Director Ja, any questions?
No question. Thank you.
Director Lee, any questions?
None. Thank you.
Director Miller, any questions?
No questions.
Chairman Miller?
No questions. No questions. Why?
We may now
No
proceed.
questions. I don't know why you.
We heard you, Director Miller. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right.
We may now proceed to contract number C1.
Our next order of business is the review of finance contract number C1, energy management and advisory services for a period of up to 3 years with 2 funded 1-year options. I do have a question, more of a question. Can you explain that, Ellen? Just explain that. I don't know if that's you or Jeremy who can talk about this contract further.
Jeremy's probably the best person to explain the contract. So Jeremy,
Okay.
why don't you explain what the contract does?
Thank you.
Perfect. Again, I'm Jeremy Fine, your Chief Financial Officer. This contract is for energy management services. The CTA really relies on industry experts to help us provide best practice in risk management to reduce our costs associated with energy procurement for natural gas, electricity, diesel fuel, the things that we talk about on a monthly basis. This contract really helps us, kind of, again, scope out and understand and reduce risk management with regard to the supply and pricing of those commodities. It also helps with auditing and reporting of consumption and billing data with regard to the purchase and of the 3 commodities, and also with regard to budget forecast preparation and energy procurement negotiation, which will obviously become more and more important as we novate the bus fleet over to e-buses. And they've also helped us develop the strategy that has become very beneficial to us in securing particularly fuel of, buying allotments along the way when prices avail themselves. So again, that all of those functions kind of roll up under this contract. And this has been a very beneficial contract for us in securing energy at the lowest cost possible price, as well as continuing to explore new, sustainable energy sources as we move forward. And not only the e-bus, but just the procurement of the electricity and energy needed for those fleets of the future. So again, this is a very important role for us, and one that we've worked with Ameresco, who is the winning bidder here, for several years now, and they provide services to a number of other large municipal buyers of energy, including the city of Chicago, CHA, CPS, Cook County, Parks, and UIC. So they're well adept at this and have been a very good partner for us in the past.
Good. And if my memory serves me correctly, it was the DB was 30%?
Yes, that's correct. It's a firm called Shelton Solutions, and it is for 30% participation.
It was great seeing that, because I learned of, hadn't heard of it, and I Googled them. So it was nice to see company right here in Chicago, and it was even more nice to see that they were people of color.
Absolutely.
And they were African American. I think she's the chair, CEO, and president. So great job on that. Thank you. I have no further questions, Georgia.
Are there any other questions? Director Ja?
No questions.
Director Lee?
No questions, thanks.
Chairman Barclay?
No questions.
We may then move to contract H1. Director Jakes?
Our next order of business is the review of safety contract number H1, cleanup, handling, removal, transport, and disposal of hazardous and non-hazardous waste for 36 months. My question on this contract is that I noticed there was only one bid. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. We did have another company, Safety Clean and Evo Echo, and they both looked at the procurement. They downloaded the documentation, and Safety Clean reached out to us and asked if we could give them an extension. So we sent out an addendum and we extended the procurement for everyone. And yet again, only Trade B submitted a proposal. So one of the other companies stated that the work was just far too much for their small company to handle. And when we asked Safety Clean, why didn't you submit a bid? We extended it for the length of time that you asked. They said that they still didn't have time. And unfortunately, we see that that'll happen. When we get one proposal, we send out, we reach out to the other contractors that we see either downloaded the bid or have bid on it in the past. And we ask them, why didn't you submit a bid? And sometimes they'll respond, we didn't have enough time. So we reissue it and we do the whole procurement again, and we still don't get a procurement. We have worked with Trade B in the past, and the using department is happy with the work that they do, and the pricing they provided was good pricing. So we felt that it was in the best interest of CTA to go ahead and award this contract.
Okay, thank you for that, Ellen. Is there a reason why there was 0% DBE?
Yes, this is Juan Pablo Prieto, Director of Diversity Programs. We've looked at this traditionally as at a 0% goal because there are no DBE firms that have the equipment to handle the hazardous waste. We have, tried to talk with several companies about expanding, but the cost tends to be prohibitive because of the equipment needed for this type of work.
Okay, thank you, Juan Pablo. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
No further questions, Georgia.
Are there any further questions? Director Ja?
No questions.
Director Lee?
No questions.
Chairman Barclay?
No questions.
Director Jakes, being that there are no further questions, we may now proceed to item number 4A.
Since there are no further questions on the contracts, may I have leave to place the 15 contracts on the omnibus?
Director Ja?
So move. Second.
Chairman, Director Jakes, we may now proceed to item number 4B.
Since there's no further business to come before the committee, may I have a motion to approve the omnibus and recommend the omnibus for board approval?
So move. Second.
A motion has been moved and seconded. Director Ja?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
The motion to approve the omnibus passes. Director Jakes, you may proceed to agenda item number 5.
And finally, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move. Second.
The motion to adjourn has been moved and seconded. Director Ja?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
Director Jakes, the committee is adjourned.
Thank you.
Chairman, good morning. Good morning. I will turn the meeting over to Chairman Barclay.
Good morning. I would like to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Chicago Transit Board for March 8th, 2023. Bridget, please call the roll.
Director Ja,
Here.
Director Lee,
Director Lee just dropped and pulled back in. Give her a minute to get
All
audio.
right. Hi, second.
No.
Just
good.
here.
You're here, Director Lee.
Yes, I'm here. Are we seconding? I don't know what I missed.
We're glad you're here with us. Director Miller,
Keep me out. I'm here. Yes.
Here.
Director Jakes,
Here.
Here.
Chairman Barclay.
Here.
Chairman, you have a quorum with 5 members in attendance.
Our first order of business is public comment. Georgette.
Chairman, this month there is one public comment. Mr. Gottlicker has requested to make a public comment. Mr. Gottlicker, you may speak. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, President Carter, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present my comment on behalf of Commuters Take Action, a collective of local transit riders. It's been over 6 months since the Meeting the Moment plan was announced. All of us were excited by the outlined improvements and the promise to communicate honestly with riders. While there have been steps in the right direction, we continue to be disappointed by President Carter's reports that cloud the truth. In last month's update, Mr. Carter was proud of the improved service percentages. However, he failed to contextualize these with one important factor. The only reason bus service seemingly improved in January was because of the schedule changes. These, quote, optimizations, end quote, as Carter and his team calls them, are in reality service cuts. The busy 79th Street bus was cut by 17%, Chicago Avenue by 12%, LaSalle bus by 38%, just to give some examples. Overall, buses were cut by 10% and rail by 17%. The CTA figured if they can't deliver more service, they'll just quietly adjust the benchmark. Yes, we did ask for more accurate schedules, but it's also important to let the riders know how this is achieved, by cutting service. And this is something that Carter has not admitted. If you'd like to see how much each line was cut for yourself, please visit our website at ctaction.org. And then we have the troubled Blue Line. In last month's update, Carter offhandedly mentioned that the Blue Line schedule was further, quote, optimized. But he didn't bother to let the riders know. The schedules posted at the station still say effective October 23rd, 2022. How can the CTA update schedules and not let the riders know? This is pure negligence at this point. With these further optimizations, as CTA calls them, the Blue Line schedule is cut down 39% compared to pre-COVID. And to make matters worse, not even the decimated timetable is followed. Throughout February, there were many days with only 70 to 80% of this new schedule fulfilled. In number of total trains, the Blue Line is at its worst.
You have 1 minute.
Since we started tracking it. Yep, thank you. Since we started tracking it in November 2021. Let me rephrase. The Blue Line is actually getting worse, not better. We want more trains, not silly video streams. I'm sure Carter will be happy to announce that the overall percentage of LFO service delivered has gone up by 2% in February, but this is only due to these Blue Line schedule changes. All other lines, except for the pink one, have gotten worse. The overall trend of daily trips across the system has shown no improvement since between June 2022 and today. We continue to see only about 1,100 daily trips. How can Carter's team claim that they, quote, have no issues recruiting
20
people for rail
seconds remaining.
operations, end quote, when there's not even a glimpse of improvement? No updates on rail operator hiring are ever given. Members of the board, let me offer you a helping hand on behalf of Commuters Take Action. President Carter and his team have been playing you and the public for a fool. The updates he gives are incomplete and fail to capture the real rider experience.
That's time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. I'm sure President Carter will be addressing some of those in his remarks today or at a later time. Our next order of business is the president's report. President Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, one of the benefits of updating this body regarding CTA's Meeting the Moment action plan each month is that it does provide me with an opportunity to discuss both the issues and challenges this agency faces, along with our accomplishments and achievements. It also provides me with the opportunity to be transparent with you in ensuring that you are fully apprised and crystal clear about CTA's successes and its problems, both the good and the bad. I think this is paramount for me because I know that we cannot move the ball forward for this agency with anything less than an honest and open discussion in this forum. Now, you just heard from our commenter who suggested that in some way I'm sugarcoating the information that I'm giving to you. And I want you to know that I've been very clear with every one of my reports that the optimization of our service has been the basis for the percentages of service delivered. I've also been very clear since I introduced the Meeting the Moment plan that service optimization was a reaction to the fact that I did not have sufficient workforce to meet normal service levels. And in fact, the organization that's complaining to me about transparency was the same organization that complained about the lack of accuracy when I had published schedules that were not being met because I didn't have the workforce to meet it. I understand that the foundation to getting our service back to normal is rebuilding our workforce while at the same time managing our service levels until we are back to normal. And you should know to that end, each day there are a number of CTA employees who are focused on hiring more bus operators and bus mechanics and rail operators, as well as crunching numbers, looking at ridership and headways, and analyzing the metrics that affect our operations so that we can optimize our service and schedules to ensure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability. Still, other employees are using traditional and new mediums and technologies to engage and inform the people who rely on us to live their lives every day. And I want you to know that this is a complicated effort that requires balancing a number of issues all at the same time so that we can provide the best service possible on a day-to-day basis. My staff are focused on this challenge every day, and we will continue to be focused until we can return to a normal level of service in the future. Some of the programs and initiatives provided for more immediate results, like the schedule adjustments that we have been making. Others will bear slow but steady fruit over time, like our ongoing and aggressive hiring, recruitment, and marketing campaigns. But everything that we do, we will present to you and to our customers and to the general public with the transparency that I believe we owe them as we continue this effort. I would point out that the information that our commenter was giving to you today is based on the data that I'm putting out to the public about what's happening with ridership on all of our lines and all of our buses and all of our rail lines every single day. I am not hiding this information or data. I am trying to give you an interpretation of what you should take away from that data, which is part of my responsibility as president and CEO of this agency. And I will continue to give you my best advice on how we are utilizing this data to improve our service on a day-to-day basis. So let me talk about where we are today. I want to begin by giving you some decidedly good news. On February 28th, CTA welcomed 50 new graduates of our new employee training programs. These new additions to the CTA family of employees included individuals who both drive buses and trains, help to repair our fleet, assist customers at rail stations, and train future newly hired team members. While I'm always careful to recognize that our effort to resolve our significant hiring needs is more akin to a marathon than a sprint, it is important to know that we are constantly hiring, and I'm very happy to see these continued monthly additions to our staffing numbers. I'm also happy to share that we are currently hiring more bus operators than we are losing to attrition, and that our headcount of bus operators is higher today than it has been in 6 months. We have another bus operator and bus mechanic hiring fair coming up on Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. right here at our headquarters located at 567 West Lake Street in Chicago. I would like to ask the board to utilize your networks to help spread the word. And to anyone watching this proceeding on YouTube, I cannot stress this fact often or loudly enough. CTA is hiring. We offer great pay and benefits, paid training, a hiring bonus, pension options, paid time off, and free transit travel on CTA, Metra, and PACE. You may also be eligible to receive up to $3,000 in incentives. So if you are looking for a job, we hope that we will see you at our job fair later this week. I'd also like to note that our progress is not limited to just the bus side of our operations. In April, we are looking forward to graduating our next class of rail operators who are currently in training. And in addition to those employees, we have already begun training for the following group of rail operators. In fact, we will have continuous and concurrent rail operator training programs running throughout the year. And additionally, earlier this year, Olive Harvey College hosted the first commercial learner's permit class of the year. As you know, these permits classes are offered at no cost to our bus operator job applicants and are necessary to obtain a Class B commercial driver's license. We are hopeful that by coordinating with and partnering with Olive Harvey College, we're going to identify even a larger pool of individuals to pursue bus operator positions here at CTA. We are also enhancing our efforts to build our workforce by increasing our veterans employment outreach. In mid-February, CTA entered into a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. Army to join the Partnership for Your Success program, or PAYS, which is a recruitment initiative that prepares Army soldiers for their future after honorably serving our country. This partnership is the latest in a series of initiatives the CTA has undertaken to recruit and support the veteran workforce. The Army PAYS partnership provides the CTA with a new direct recruiting channel for veteran men and women of the U.S. Army, the U.S. Army Reserves, the Army National Guard, and the Reserve Officers Training Corps, a vital asset as we continue to aggressively recruit and strengthen our workforce. You should know that some of our best employees, including those who have risen to our leadership ranks, like Don Bonds, who is our Chief Transit Officer, are veterans of the armed forces. I can say unequivocally that we should always be looking to military veterans who are among our most dedicated and hardworking employees to join our team. A key meeting the moment initiative that will help us move forward with our schedule and service optimization efforts is our new Rail Spring Pick, which will go into effect on March 26th. As you are aware, we began our rail optimization efforts last fall and saw significant results, including improved service delivery, which is at almost 83%, up from 72% beforehand. And yes, let me be clear, the optimization effort is a direct result of adjustments to our service levels to align them with the existing workforce that we have today. I want to be clear that these numbers represent our new schedules are more accurately reflecting the service that we are able to currently put out. This means more reliable service, fewer gaps, and more accurate tracking by our tracker software, all of which were the goals that I announced when I implemented the Meeting the Moment plan. It does not mean yet that we are running more trains or buses than we have been providing before the pandemic. The spring 2023 pick will include service optimization changes across a number of rail lines and day types and will result in scheduled train runs that better align once again with our current workforce levels. The most significant optimization measures will happen on our busiest lines, the red and blue lines. The optimization considerations related to this pick will also allow us to update the travel times on the Forest Park branch of the blue line, which impacts our service. Of particular note are we're going to be doing more of what we call short turns at UIC Halstead, which will provide more service in the busiest part of the Blue Line O'Hare branch, while not increasing workforce requirements and accounting for revised travel times on the Forest Park branch. This change is a good step that will directly and immediately benefit the overcrowding issues our customers have been experiencing on that branch of the Blue Line. Another significant part of our action plan has been our commitment to thinking about new challenges presented by the pandemic that have exacerbated existing issues. On February 28th, we announced our latest effort to marry out-of-the-box thinking with available technology to benefit our customers, and it has been very well received. This week, CTA unveiled a new live video feed of the selected Blue Line platforms that provides video of each weekday morning's rush period from 7 a.m. until 10 a.m. The live stream feed provides customers with real-time information on platform crowding conditions, and how CTA service is supporting the morning commute, which helps them to make better decisions regarding the best time for them to ride according to their individual needs. This new feature is one way that we are trying to improve trip planning communication tools for our customers. They are part of CTA's larger effort to provide tools to help CTA customers better plan and manage their commutes. And this is just one of the many ways we sought to improve service for Blue Line customers. We've also shifted other resources to the Blue Line by assigning more management personnel to closely monitor the rush hour service. We also have introduced frequent platform announcements to let customers waiting on platforms receive real-time system status, the location of next trains, and when extra trains have been deployed. We will continue to introduce new features and services for the foreseeable future as we look for ways to enhance the CTA rail travel experience, especially on our busiest lines. This month's interactive scorecard also shows continued progress on schedule optimization. Our rail service delivery compared to new schedules increased to almost 83%, from 75% in December and 80% in January. Once again, let me be clear that these are optimized schedules. They are not the same level of service that we were providing pre-pandemic, but they do more accurately reflect the level of service we can put out given the workforce challenges that we're facing. I think it's also important for me to remind the board that these workforce challenges that we are facing are not unusual to CTA. They are happening throughout this entire transit industry. And I can tell you from having had numerous conversations with private sector companies, it is also happening within the private sector. Everyone is trying to hire as quickly as possible to get their manpower up to the level that it should be. And we are part of that effort. And we're going to continue to keep moving forward to increase our hiring until we can get back to a normal level of service, as I committed to when I announced my meeting the moment plan. In addition to increased service delivery, double and triple headways on the rail lines continue to trend better than they did in the older schedules. Additionally, big gaps between buses are down to 6.5%, showing continued progress towards reliable service. Another notable success is the hiring of 149 bus operators so far this year. We have already reached 20% of our annual goal to hire 700 operators in just months. I am also encouraged by the annual ridership growth we experienced from 2021 to 2022, which went from 196 million to 243.5 million system-wide. We are continuing to work to ensure that our CTA customers hopefully will continue to return to transit even more in 2023. Our scorecard continues to be an effective tool for aggregating our accomplishments, tracking key performance metrics, and gauging the impact of our action plan on our system, which is why we continue to revise and enhance it on a rolling basis. It is also a significant component to my overall level of transparency to what is happening at CTA and how we are delivering service on a daily basis. There is also an especially human component to our action plan, however, driven less by data and technology and more by direct outreach to those who may need assistance. When I unveiled our action plan last August, I made it clear that I was also interested in a new, expanded approach to the challenge we face in terms of how best to serve some of our unhoused customers and the complicated dynamics we confront while serving a portion of our customer base that is experiencing homelessness. Last year, we initiated meetings with Thresholds and Haymarket Center, acknowledged and well-respected organizations with expertise in helping individuals that are experiencing mental health and substance abuse challenges. Since that time, we have contracted with both of them, and they are now deploying their outreach specialists into our system. Thresholds has been performing outreach on the Red Line train since January and continue to add outreach workers to support that effort. Haymarket has begun their outreach on the Blue Line, and they continue to engage individuals in need of their assistance on the system, providing them with supportive services when the opportunity arises. My goal is to continue to expand this outreach. While our core business will always be to provide bus and train rides, I believe that we have reached a time where transit simply has to think differently about how to best aid the individuals in getting the assistance that they need. CTA is not a shelter of last resort. but we owe it to our unsheltered residents to help, which is exactly what we're trying to do. I would like to close with something that not only benefits CTA customers, but has provided an opportunity for us to work with another service board, PACE, to advance regional fare integration and make some of our fare offerings more seamless to travel across the region. Effective February 20th, CTA and PACE began accepting unlimited ride passes across both agencies, including 1-day and 3-day unlimited ride passes, making seamless bus travel across the city and suburbs even easier. As a transit agency leader, my goal is to always remove the hurdles of taking public transit and to ensure Chicagoans and visitors alike can travel easily across Chicago and its suburbs, 35 of which I would remind you are served by CTA directly. This initiative helps further that goal and makes transit even more affordable and equitable. So in closing, I'd like to remind you that we are solidly committed to making real progress on our action plan every day. And moreover, we place a very high premium on being transparent about every step we take. That's why I appreciate the opportunity to brief you on our work each month, and I look forward to updating you further in April. Thank you, Chairman. That completes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, President Carter, for the update. As I mentioned in the staff briefing the other day, I'm encouraged by the progress the team is making. As we're all aware, we still have a lot of work to do in addressing our challenges, but I would like to see us getting the message out about where and how we're improving and delivering on the plan. One way of doing this is reconvening our Citizens Advisory Board. The CAB experienced a transitional period in membership over the course of the pandemic. One of those transitions being my own from CAB chair to chair of the Chicago Transit Board. CTA is currently in the process of reconvening the CAB, and we project that they will meet this spring. The board recognizes the importance of having this group table to represent the needs and concerns of our ridership. And as a former member of the CAB, I've experienced firsthand how that seat at the table also gives members the opportunity to learn more about the inner workings of the Chicago Transit Authority and the extensive efforts taken to address complex challenges and concerns. Both CTA and our ridership greatly benefit from the Citizens Advisory Board, particularly at this critical juncture where CTA is working to restore ridership amidst challenges brought on by the pandemic. I look forward to reconvening this body. I'd now like to open the floor to other directors for comments and questions on the President's report.
Well, I'll begin. Thank you for your report, President Carter. I think your report definitely handles the critiques very well, but I think it's also important that the public knows that as directors, we're not here just to rub you on the back and just give you an attaboy. You know, we're also here to challenge you, but we also, in listening to you, especially post-pandemic, you and your team have done a marvelous job in essence, creating helping do what everybody else is having to do, and that's to find this new normal. Even though you've had to use old methods to find a normal, I think that you all have done a marvelous job and continue to do a marvelous job, especially with the hiring piece. Personally, I'm always moved when I hear that you and your team are very intentional about caring for, and I like the word you use, unsheltered citizens in our city, because it's not anything you have to do, but it's something that you are doing. So I want to commend you and your team on that, and just say to keep up the great work and continue to face the challenges head on. So thank you.
Thank you, Director. And just so I am clear, I don't want anyone to think that I'm happy at where we're at right now. because I'm not. I understand that we still have a lot of work to do to get back to normal. What I'm trying to convey in my reports and in the data that we're showing you is that we're working hard to do that. And I am very optimistic that over the course of the year, you are going to start to see improvements, both in terms of the quality of service as well as the level of service that we're providing. But as you can imagine, it's an uphill battle that we've been fighting. I think the best news that I could give you out of my report today is that we're now hiring more than we're losing, which means I'm not making the hole any deeper, and I can start to dig out of it, which is, to me, was a major milestone in the work that we're trying to accomplish here. And I think a lot of it has been the direct result of both the hiring initiatives that this board approved that have allowed me to offer bonuses to applicants who apply at CTA, and also the retention bonuses that you approved that I believe are having some impact on retaining those employees who might have been thinking about leaving CTA. Stabilizing the workforce is the foundation to everything else that we're trying to do here. And I think you've seen the first step of that. And I think that will then lead to further improvements in the things that you're hearing complaints about, particularly from the commenters today.
Any other comments from any other directors?
Thank you, Mr. President, for the update and for sharing with us. You see about 20% of the goal of reaching the 700. And I was just sharing with people, as you said, the board and everybody else to help get the message out on what we have approved with the incentive and all, to know that CTA is still a good place to work. I was just sharing on this week with some pastors and some other people about the opportunity. Took a wife to the eye clinic yesterday, and you do have one guy, 30 years, that's getting ready to retire. And I guess after 30 years, but I was sharing with him, and he knew about it. But that is become our responsibility too, not only as board members, but those of us in the community, to let the community know that you're hiring and what is going on at CTA, good things that are going on. So we thank you for the report, and I'm committing to continue to share this information, to even call some meetings if it's agreeable with you all, to try to make us more vocal about promoting CTA.
Thank you. Again, thank you, President Carter, for your report. Our next order of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 8th, 2023. May I have a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
The motion has been made by Director Ja and seconded by Director Lee. Director Ja?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
Chairman, the motion passes.
Thank you. Our next order of business is executive session. It's my understanding, Kent, that there is an executive session today.
Yes, Chairman, we will have a closed executive session pursuant to Section 2, Paragraph C, subparagraphs 1 and 21 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
I will now entertain a motion to recess into executive session for the reasons stated by counsel.
So move. Second.
A motion has been made and seconded. Director Ja?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
The motion passes. Chairman Barclay.
We will now address board agenda item 5A.
Will we entertain a motion to return to open session?
I will now entertain a motion to turn to open session.
So move. Second.
Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Jakes,
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
The motion to return to open session passes.
We will now address board agenda item 5A. Kent?
Thank you, Chairman. Item 5A involves the board's review of a Section 28 hearing committee's recommendation regarding CTA's discharge of Shani Harden. Ms. Harden requested a hearing to contest her discharge under Section 28 of the Metropolitan Transit Authority Act. The hearing was held before an appointed committee. After considering all of the evidence presented in the hearing, the committee has recommended that this board sustain Ms. Harden's discharge.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Jakes,
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
The motion passes.
As a point of clarification, was that a motion to approve sustaining the committee's recommendation?
Yes.
Thank you.
The next executive session item for consideration is board agenda item 5B. Kent?
Thank you, Chairman. For item 5B, the board reviewed prior closed session meeting minutes in accordance with the requirements of Section 2.06 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
Thank you, Kent. May I have a motion for the Chicago Transit Board to authorize the release of all executive session minutes for the years 2021 through 2022, with the exception of all minutes or portions of minutes concerning Section 8 hearings, litigation, and the settlement of litigation, leaving all other previously unreleased minutes undisclosed, with all released items being available for public inspection.
So move. Second.
Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Jakes,
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Our next order of business is board matters. Georgette, do we have any board matters for the agenda?
Chairman Barclay, we have no board matters for the agenda.
Our next order of business is a report from the Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Delivery, Director Miller.
Thank you, Chairman Barclay. The Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Delivery met earlier this morning. The committee approved the minutes of February 28, 2023 committee minutes. The committee reviewed one ordinance. The ordinance authorized the discontinuance of bus route number 98, Avon Express. The committee placed the ordinance on the omnibus and approve and recommend the omnibus for board approval. That concludes my report, Chairman Barclay.
Thank you, Director Miller. Our next order of business is a report from the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget, Director Jakes.
Chairman Barclay, if I may, should we approve the omnibus as stated by Director Miller by a motion?
So move. Second.
Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Jakes,
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. Our next order of business is a report from the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget, Director Jakes.
Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget met earlier this morning and approved the February 8th, 2023 committee minutes and reviewed the finance report. Committee reviewed 15 contracts and placed them on the omnibus and recommend board approval of the omnibus. That concludes the Finance, Audit, and Budget report. Chairman Barclay.
Thank you, Director Jakes. I will now entertain a motion to approve the omnibus as stated by Director Jakes.
So move. Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Jakes,
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Our next order of business is the construction report. Bill Mooney.
Good morning. Bill Mooney, your Chief Infrastructure Officer with your monthly construction project update briefing. We'll begin what we do most months now on the CDOT Lakeline Damon Station project. Project moves forward on schedule and within budget. And most of the work has been really focused around preparing the new columns. I showed you some work around shoring of the existing structure to be able to prepare it, to size it for the new platforms that will be installed as part of the station. Here's some photos of that. Here you see the full bent here, which is the cross stringer and the associated beams that shored, prepped, ready, and carried. And they're also installing the new columns that will be much larger size, as well as with a bigger foundation that was installed at a future point. This will allow them to be able to use this point as a loading point for the platform. Next slide. And here's kind of another major structural element of this station. I've shown you some of the work around this previously. This is the core of the whole building itself, and ultimately this is where the bridge that connects the station house over on Damon Avenue to the new platforms, as well as on both sides of the street. And so it's kind of a pivotal point and tie-in. And so this is the foundation of that stair tower and elevator tower, and ultimately the bridge foundations that they're building up. Next slide. Our next project is our non-revenue rail vehicle maintenance facility. Leads forward on schedule and on budget. Looking at some of the photos on the progress, all the precast panels are in place. The last one was installed last month. Most of the focus in this month, as I showed you at the beginning of it last month, was on the internal steel erection. So here's kind of all that steel in place. We're just finishing up the detailing work on it. And the next slide. Most of the focus has really been beyond that on roofing. Roofing is really, this is actually a structural component of the roofing. It's really important to tie in all those precast panel walls in this sort. They're pretty quickly coming to the end of this underlayer, and then they'll pop it with the typical asphalt topping from there. Next slide. And with roofs comes drains. So one of the key aspects of any roof is actually having the right drainage structures to be able to take the water off the roof and route it to. And it's something you may remember early on in the project, it took a lot of underwater storage retention on this project. We actually are carrying a ton of water on the site itself before it's released into the full system. Next slide. This is our Canal Berry and Damon substation project. It proceeds forward on budget and on schedule. Looking forward to some of the activities. A lot of the work has been focused kind of around Damon substation and getting going kind of at Berry, really with the Belmont crossover work that the board recently approved as part of the package. Next slide. So here we are at Damon. So they have been pouring the grade beams. I've shown you the micropiles and some of the form work here. Here they are putting in the final kind of pieces of that and start to pour the concrete. This will be the foundation of the new substation at Damon. Ties into all those deep foundation work that you've seen previously in the months, and from here the walls start building up. So this is kind of we're starting to get out of the ground, and you'll start seeing some of the vertical height in this project shortly. Next slide. This is at Berry. So as underneath kind of where the new substation is, they actually have a signal room in the subway there, and so they had to reroute the power for that signal room to be able to make way for the conduits that are going to have to come in with the new underground substation there. And so this was some work they were able to start before they really get going on that site for the substation. Next slide. And we're rip roaring on the crossover. So it's pretty exciting to get this crossover that dates back to the 1950s replaced. This is the new steel and ties. So they've assembled them off site, prepared, make sure all the parts together. And ultimately they take it apart in sections so they can roll it into the subway in larger pieces and change it out over a series of weekend line cuts. Next slide. And on to RPM. We proceed forward tight schedule and within the budget. We can move kind of into progress. So we continue on the RPD area, this area between Addison and Belmont, the Red Purple Bypass, with the stage 2 work, which is mostly the area between Addison and Clark Junction. I've shown you kind of over the last couple of months, the installation of steel beams and concrete prefab beams there, and they're starting to get ready for the deck pours and building a track on top of that. Up on the Lawrence Bryn Mawr section, the LBMM area, we have finished all the precast segmental fabrication for the installation for this phase. And most of the work has been focused on track installations and preparing for stage B, which will be later this summer. As we move forward there, they're also prepping the new temp stations at Brimmer and Argyle as that phase change to come into effect. And we continue to work on the equipment and testing for the next quarter signal improvements, kind of trail with the phase changes on both sides, as well as in the future of the project. Let's look at some photos. So here we are on, and this is in the RPD area as part of the, and then number 2 milestone. So this is the area between Addison and Park Junction. I've shown you the prefab beams previously, and this is kind of detailing out that work and getting it ready for that to start building out the deck work. Next slide. And this is actually the renewal of the old Ravenswood tracks there on the brown line here. This has been ongoing for a while. We've seen some photos of them installing the micro piles. And so this is them actually cutting off the column base of the existing column base so they can form a new column base to a new foundation that existing structure. Next slide. Here are some of the advanced. So last month I showed you kind of them prepping the foundation for the station house at Bryn Mawr. There you can see the stairs that will ultimately go up to the temporary platform on the next phase change that they're trying to install at Bryn Mawr. Next slide. And part of the, now that we've got all the segments in place and they've built track in most of these areas, we're installing the sound wall. This is a really important part to be able to make this quiet track. It helps push any sound that does occur on track level up, as well as providing protection for the workers up at that level as well. Next slide. And as I mentioned, we continue on track work. So last month they actually did some reforming. This is at the what is ultimately the middle track near Winona, where they have a series of interlockings that help facilitate train movement ultimately in and out of the main tracks into the middle track. This will also be used as part of the normal routing during the next phase change with the temporary stations. So here they've got all the special work in place, just getting ready to pour the concrete and form that all into one big block of five. Okay. And we continue our ongoing community outreach as part of the project. We routinely meet with the 44th Ward and 48th Ward offices, as well as various neighborhood groups that are invested. In the last month, we sat with the Local Neighbors Association, as well as the Edgewater Chamber of Commerce. One of the most exciting things we did is over on January 28th, we participated in the Argyle Winter New Year Parade with our friends in transit operations. We brought out the mini train. It was a very cold and snowy day, but everyone really enjoyed being out there and being able to participate in the event. And we, as always, we continue to hold our virtual office hours and answer any questions from the constituents as they come about. With that, I will turn it over to Juan Pablo to talk about our workforce update.
Thanks, Bill. Good morning, directors. Juan Pablo Prieto, Director of Diversity Programs. CTA Diversity continues to meet with the contractor monthly to discuss DBE and workforce outreach and compliance. We continue to send out opportunities along with the prime to the DBE community so that they're aware of the trade packages and how to submit their bids. Open career opportunities with the prime and their subs are sent to both of our workforce partners, Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership and Hire 360, so they can refer interested and qualified candidates that meet our workforce goals. We have transitioned our outreach strategy for both DBE and workforce to quarterly events that will present upcoming opportunities across all of our projects. Our next workforce event, which will include opportunities on RPM, will be March 20th. We will report out on that event next month. As of February 28th, DBEs have been awarded over $237 million between the design and construction packages. This accounts for 89 unique DBE firms, 34 of which are new to CTA. On the workforce side, as of the end of February, 1,813 unique individuals have worked over 1.1 million labor hours and earned over $67.5 million. That concludes my portion of the report. I'll turn it back over to Bill.
Thank you, Juan Pablo. With that, I'd like to pause and turn over to President Carter for some remarks.
I have a
Thank
quick
you, Bill.
if that's okay. The 1800 number, oh gosh, I can't get my words right. In relation to what is the total number? Do we know overall impact versus that 1800 number, what the percentage of that is based off of?
So the 1,800 unique individuals, those are trade workers that have worked on RPM on the design build project.
But is your question, you want to know what percentage is that of the total number?
Yes.
Percentage of the total number of what? I'm sorry.
Workers.
Yeah, that 1800 number represents what? I'm sorry, I didn't quite.
Those are all the trade labor workers that have worked on the design build project.
No, Juan Pablo, I think what she wants to know is, and that's out of a number of how many workers that worked on the project.
Yeah.
Oh, that worked across outside, even outside of the trade labor. I
Yeah.
get that number for you.
Or
We
even
can-
outside, or even within the trade labor. I think she's just trying to get an understanding of what percentage does that represent of the total percentage of the workforce you're counting.
So the 1,800 is the total labor, trade labor workforce. Outside of trade labor, I'd have to get that number for you to get the total number of individuals that have worked on RPM.
Yeah, I think it'll be good to know the scale of this program, how many people it's touching,
Yes.
and how are we looking at differentiation in terms of, because, diversity is so much more, right, than just one aspect. I'd love to see kind of how are you breaking that down in terms of the people that we're impacting.
We can give you a lot more detail behind that number and also around the program as a whole. So why don't we plan to put that presentation together for you?
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to be part of that. Thank you.
And we can share with the rest of the board as well.
Thank you.
So I think your comments actually feed very nicely into something that I wanted to show the board at the end of the construction report, which is really focused on exactly this issue, Director Jha, that you're raising, which is how is this project impacting, in a very direct way, the workforce of the people that we're trying to have engaged in this project. And one of the things that many of you are aware of is that I'm a very firm believer in the fact that we should be leveraging our federal dollars and our capital projects to not just build infrastructure, but also to create opportunities for those who may not have those opportunities, but for our work, be it individuals or be it contractors. And the RPM project has been, I think, a great example of the work and effort that we try to put into that type of philosophy. We have developed and grown a number of successful small businesses and workforce opportunity programs that are actually used as a model for other similar programs throughout the city. And while I think there's always more work to be done, I believe, that now is really a good time to share with you some of the stories of the people who, in their own words, have been impacted by CTA and the RPM project and how it's changed their lives for the better. This is an initiative that the RPM team have worked to tell a better story of the impact of this project to those individuals and to those companies. And each month we're going to be rolling out another video that kind of gives an inside look into these workers, as well as the small business that have been participating in the RPM project in many capacities. And then one final point before we show the video that I think was really important. Of course, each one of these videos was shot and produced by a disadvantaged business enterprise company that's working on this project. So this is also the work product of a company that has also been the beneficiary of the project itself. And so with that, I'm going to let Herb play the video and let you see some of the impact of what we're doing in the words of the people who are actually doing it.
I'm Pierre Starks. I'm a local one union iron worker. I actually got the pleasure of going from apprentice to journeyman on the RPM project about 1.5 years ago. I've been in 4.5 years total. Most of my journeyman work has been with the RPM project. I worked on pretty much this entire RPM project so far, from Belmont all the way to Ardmore. From Belmont, doing a lot of heavy physical work, busting rivets, a lot of flange replacements and things of that sort, to actually building these piers, dropping the caissons in there. Working on this project has taken me back to my childhood days when I used to ride the L to school, downtown area, just to enjoy the sights, the big buildings, the lakefront, just the beautiful inner city part. And this time it's like working on this project has made me feel even more proud because this is the same train that I used to take. Generationally speaking, my kids will get to see this project once it's done, get to be proud of their dad. When they go on to have families, they can bring their kids, my grandkids then, and they'll be like, oh, granddad helped build this? Oh my God, you know what I mean? And it's like, it always makes me proud just to know I'm a part of something that's great and that something that supports, you know, the whole community in general, because this runs from the north side to the south side. So it's citywide. Although I live in the Brownsville area, which I do like, I do need a house. My 10-year-old, he's always on me. Dad, I wanna be able to play in the backyard. We need to get a house. This room is too small. And that's kind of a dream that he has and I have for him too. And working on this RPM project, it's helped me save a lot of money so that I will be able to put that down payment on that house that I really, really want for my family.
Awesome.
So as I've indicated, part of the selling point that I've made for both RPM and I am making currently for RLE is that, you know, these are not projects that stand in isolation of the communities that we serve. They are projects that actually support the communities that we serve, both in terms of the transportation improvements, but also in terms of the jobs and opportunities that we create from the work of the project itself. And so we're going to be showing more of these types of videos going forward. And I anticipate and certainly plan to do the very same thing on RLE when that project gets underway. So I just thought you would enjoy seeing at least one personal story of what RPM has done for this one individual. And like I said, it's one of many that we're going to be talking about.
This was so great. Thank you. Just brings, it's really good to see individual story. It touches your heart more than anything else. No numbers can do that, right? It's a story has so much more power than data can ever have. And I think this reminds you of that. I would love, I kind of want to go back to that conversation we were having earlier about, I think it was about equipment. I think we're talking about a contract where we only got one bid and and there was a DBE number that was 0 in that, right? It's how can this organization, knowing that we have massive projects that run in billions all the time, create maybe some sort of a program, and maybe you're already doing that and I'm not aware of it, some sort of an apprentice program where we can identify folks like this individual we just saw who has great potential to get to a point where they can be considered for a project, even though they don't have resources, right? I think a lot of times what happens is not all of us start from the same foundation. And the fact that the foundation is not leveled means that even though the opportunity is there, the qualification does not, the criteria does not meet. So how do we get folks to meet the criteria? So then we're looking, we're providing a level playing field. So that's a challenge.
No, it is a challenge. And one of the things that we did with the RPM project is create a program to do exactly that. Our workforce development program, which brings in some outside partners of ours that JP can probably talk to even better than I can, was intended to create a pipeline for individuals to basically get into these types of programs so that they can start at the low rung of the ladder and work their way up through the course of the project. And the reason this project was such a great opportunity for that is because it's so long. A lot of our construction projects may last for 12 to 24 to 36 months. This one is like 5 years. And we knew going in that this was a unique opportunity for us to really develop our pipeline and really take away, particularly with some of the unions, the excuses of we can't find anybody to come into our programs to basically be qualified to do this work. And I believe it's also going to create a similar pipeline that's going to go right into RLE when we get that underway. I would love to give you and the rest of the board a more detailed presentation on our whole workforce development program, the way we set it up, the numbers that we've generated under it, and the fact that, as I indicated earlier, it became a model that the city has adopted and integrated into other projects that they're doing, mega projects that they're doing because of the work that we did here. It's something that we're very proud of. It's something that I have promoted, nationally as a way to really support equity around major infrastructure projects. And I think that, as I think about it, most of you were not here when RPM started, and so you were not necessarily privy to all the conversations we had around this aspect of the project. And now would be a good time for us to both, inform you about how this works, as well as give you an update on the performance of the efforts that we've undertaken, particularly in this area, targeting in particular those communities that are underserved, low income, economically depressed, and really working to find opportunities for them either on our projects or on other projects throughout the city that they might be qualified for. So we've done a lot of work in that area, and I'd be happy to give you a more detailed briefing on all of that.
Thank you. I would love that. I know personally.
Yeah, no, I think it would be a good thing for the entire board. Like I said, a lot of you weren't here at the beginning stages of this project, and so you never heard the conversations that we had around what we wanted to do that at the time was very unique. I don't think anybody else was looking at the projects the way we were. And it was part of the basis for the level of support that we got to fund the project by making it very clear that this is not going to be a project in which the only people who benefit from it are on the north side of the city.
Yeah, recognizing that some of this work is very specialized, it still bothers me sometimes when I see 0% in DBE participation. And I have to vote on a contract that we knew a year from before was going to come up. And we haven't been able to find anyone or plug anyone in or bring somebody along. That company brings somebody along. And
yeah,
to me, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, we share your frustration. I don't like contracts that have 0% DB participation either. And one of the things that I've been working on, Chairman, is really trying to expand the database from which we can pull DBEs. And part of the challenge here is that we are somewhat limited in terms of who we can identify for goals based on who's in our pool of potentially eligible DBEs to participate and work on a project. And that's driven as much by federal law as it is anything else. So I can't just put a goal and hope somebody can be found to do it. We're required to basically defend the basis for how we come up with the goal on each individual contract. Some of the things that you see us do on a daily basis, the way we break up contracts and do other things, are intended to really enhance those opportunities and also develop companies to basically take on bigger and more complicated roles in terms of contracting at CTA. The other thing that we've done, though, is we've also tried to expand our base of potential DBEs. And one of the things that we did just in the last couple of months is enter into an MOU with SEPTA in Philadelphia to basically allow DBEs that they have qualified out of their DBE pool to do work on CTA projects and vice versa. Because one of the things that I know on it from a national level is that because we don't have a national database or clearinghouse for DBEs, it's really hard for me to go across the country or anywhere else to find DBEs who may be qualified to do specialized work. I think that there are opportunities to not only pursue that, but then to bring those companies to Chicago to benefit people here in Chicago on projects in Chicago. But right now, there's no uniform way for me to do that. And that's one of the things that I've been advocating the Department of Transportation to implement as part of my equity and infrastructure project that this board is aware of and that I've talked about in the past. The first step to making that happen was to really try to pilot that concept with another transit agency, which is what we've done with SEPTA, and which I hope is going to generate opportunities that we did not have before. But in the meantime, you're right. I mean, 0% DBE goals are certainly not a example of success when there are companies that could do this work. And I know that Juan Pablo and his team do work regularly with the DBE community to try to get them to expand their certification eligibility criteria and other things to allow them to be considered for more work. And yes, we do work with the primes also to try to encourage them through mentoring programs or through other efforts to basically develop DBEs to work on their projects where there are limited opportunities. Some of the projects, as you know, the opportunities are basically, or the lack of opportunities are basically tied to the type of work that's being done, and that there aren't subcontracting opportunities available to do the work. But some of them, as you're rightfully pointing out, there are subcontracting opportunities, and we don't have a DBE who can actually do that work. Those are the ones that I agree we need to continue to work hard to try to eliminate as much as possible, so that when we are doing these things, we are creating opportunities for everyone to take advantage of them.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman and President Carter, or Juan Pablo, as we're breaking down the 18%, could we also get a report on the breakdown of the DBEs, who they are on these projects too? I think I'd asked for that once before, that Juan Pablo can get us that.
Yes, we can get you both.
Okay.
Any further questions, comments? Thank you, Bill and Juan Pablo. Our final order of business is new business. Georgette, is there any new business?
Mr. Chairman, there is no new business.
Since there's no further business to come before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn the Chicago Transit Board meeting of March 8th, 2023?
So move. Second.
A motion has been made and seconded. Director Ja?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes, and thank you, Ms. Greenlee, for your first.
Very generous.
Thank you very much. The motion passes. We are adjourned.